Good evening, good evening, good evening, and it is 8 o'clock. If you're joining me, wherever you are, do a little click of a like or a love, a care face, and make sure that you share. So glad to have you, so glad to have you, so glad to have you. Hey, Mom, good to see you, good to see you. You are way more than enough. So hey, sexy good stuff. I'm back in Baltimore, doing my thing. Not in Minneapolis this time, and everybody wants to know where I'm always at. So it's always good to see my freedom folk in the house. Let's make some magic happen. Come on, let's go. I know we've got a lot going on in the world, and I just want to hold a little space for all of us. Come on. So hey, sexy good stuff. Go ahead, do what you love. Right now. Right now. So good to see all of you. So good to see all of you. As we are kicking back into the vibe of Keep Living. I hope that you have been keep on keeping on, as some of the old mothers would say. And it is absolutely a very interesting time that we are in right now. I know a lot of us, just a lot of us are in a certain space. We've got the war on Afghanistan ending. We've of course had to deal with several issues regarding policies in this country. There's still issues around healthcare. There's still issues around COVID. There is a variant that honestly you feel like you just want to take over and kind of be like, I want this to get better. I want this to get better. I want this to get better. And I think in many ways, we've been trying to figure out ways where we can make ourselves feel better. And at the same time, experience how others are working through trying to be better. And, the thing is that as I've been saying last week, is that, we're practicing being human together. We're practicing it. It's so not easy. And, I'm sitting with so much. I thought to myself I'd share something from this book, but I actually, I will say Ancestors and Spirit is leading me a different way. Because I think we need to just sit with some other things. I think exactly, Lana. Yes, you want to go back to concerts, live concerts. I hear you. And with all the things that are happening, things are opening up and things are closing down. And it can just make you feel downright tired because you are trying to make yourself feel better. I won't stay with you long because I think we need to sit with the real honesty of how we get to a place where we can be better and do better. But being on this show will not help you be better or do better. And me talking your head off won't do it either, if I may be honest with you. I think in many ways, you know, it has been overwhelming to keep up with all the changes. And it is exhausting to keep up with all the things that we are facing. And there are things that I mean, I only listed things that are in this country. I can only imagine what is happening elsewhere. I can only imagine what is happening in other people's lives. And all the things that I've been doing are probably no comparison to what other people are going through. And as much as I'm attached to the importance of human flourishing, I know a lot of people are also sitting with the fact that they are struggling with their own human condition. And Drew, one of a dear friend of mine from Minneapolis that I had the wonderful opportunity to sit with, was has shared often with me injustice, the importance of getting our airplane mask right first before handing it over to somebody else. And when we think about that, we always are looking for ways to, in many ways, meet that, you know, meet that thing where we need to cover up our own mouth and breathe it in, right? Breathe in. And I think honestly, if some of us were mindful of that, we would really consider how well we handle our own air mask on our life, how well we handle putting on other people's mask and what we in, because we breathe in a lot of other people's stuff that are not our own. We breathe in a lot of things in society that are not our own. We breathe in a lot of people's stories that are not our own. And in many ways, it's because we have been taking in everybody else's air, ventilation system, and we tried to make it our own, and it is not. In many ways, we are giving, in many ways, a poor practice of ventilation systems to other people because we've been given poor masks. We've been given poor masks. We've been given masks that don't withstand. We've been given masks because we've tried to keep facades. If I can talk to some folk, I know this might not be right up your alley, but for some of us, but I just want to, we've been putting on masks that other people have given us, and they are actually not even for us. And when we talk about that, we are talking about breathing in somebody else's polluted attitude. Sometimes we are breathing in other people's drama. We are making other people's issues our issues, and they are not our issues. And we are doing our best to be better human beings. But we don't even know what fresh air feels like. We don't know what fresh air feels like because we are sitting with everybody else's polluted experience. I know that's tough. I know that might be uncomfortable. But I hope that we take the opportunity not to pollute. That we, in many ways, figure out ways to clear the air. And You know, there was an old song. I'm gonna go back to my evangelical days though. Can I do this? There was a beautiful song, and I want us to have a real humanist, spiritual humanist moment. But the song simply would say, "You are the air I breathe. You are the air I breathe. Your holy presence living with me." I'll do it one more time. It was just that was all it was. They would say, "You are the air I breathe. You are the air I breathe." And they would just simply say, "Your holy presence living with me." And then it would say, "And I'm desperate for you." Right? It was such an interesting song when people sang this, because honestly, when I think about it now as a humanist, I can honestly say I am desperate for connection. I am desperate for wanting to spend my entire life journeying with you. I am desperate in connecting with you. I am desperate in wanting to love you. I am desperate, but I do not want to be in a situation where I cannot breathe you in. And we, in many ways, got to do better in making sure that we come with enough tenacity, enough integrity, enough wherewithal to be an operation, if I may, like, be the best ethical, arranged person that you can be. Sit with the complexity of your humanity and hold it so that we can breathe each other in. Breathing each other in, not because I'm literally, I can't imagine that, just the idea that we are suffering, but honestly, because I need connection. And I think, I want to build off of that for us today. I want to think about that. I want us to rest with that. Like, when we are in, like, I don't want my connection to be in vain, but I also don't want my connection to be placed in jeopardy, because your suffering is not necessarily my suffering. I know. But I want to be ethical enough. I want to be, for some of it, I want to be holy enough so I can be pleasing in your sight, right? That kind of thing. I want to be acceptable. I want to be affirmed. I want to be, and I don't want to be toxic. I don't want to bring my trauma. I don't want to bring my brokenness to you. Not to say that you can't handle it, but I want to be able to edify you because I'm ethical enough to do it. I'm ethical enough to want to clear out who I am so I can be in practice, in better relationship with you. I want to be me without making it uncomfortable for you to be you. Howard Thurman has been on me lately. I think we've just been having a real decent relationship ancestrally as I've been moving. I want that. So how are we going to do this thing? How are we gonna work on this connection? How are we gonna work on having right relationship? How are we gonna get rid of the toxicity that we bring into the room when we have a poor attitude? How are we gonna how are we gonna work on controlling our fears? How are we gonna work on sitting with the human condition that we are already, that we're facing, that the money lack in the bank, use of homes, or maybe that we actually are frustrated with our jobs, and we're not successful at what we want to do, and we haven't even hit our passion because we don't even know what to be passionate about. How do we get to there? And I'm sure you've been asking a question of what's next. What's next? I'm uncertain. Everything else around me seems to be falling apart. Today I have to wear a mask. Tomorrow I don't. Some of us are sitting with militarization as a fear. If we come out of Afghanistan, we might end up in trouble. Some of us are worried about how we're going to get back to our job tomorrow because we don't have gas in our tank. Can I be real with you for a few? This is just real. Some of us are trying to study, trying to be good students, and still can't go into a classroom. It's exhausting. And our breath is being exasperated. And then because everybody else is so stuck in their condition, you're exasperated. By the time they come into the space, it becomes so polluted, you can't even breathe further. The atmosphere has already been polluted. And the question is how you're going to grow. How are you going to grow through the mess? How are you going to get there together? How are you going to arrive together? So what do? I could tell you to keep breathing, but I don't want you to breathe in what everybody's throwing at you. I would tell you to keep breathing, but your imagination and your mind might be working on you so badly that it's hard for you to release your fears. I could tell you to breathe it in. Take a deep breath. But I guarantee you that deep breath might feel like your last. I just want to, can we be real? I tell you to breathe it in, but you really don't know if that vision that you've been trying to get to is going to really be the thing that's going to make it better. So if we're going to practice anything, if we're going to practice being human together, I need us to do 3 things. I need us to work on our own personal logistics. Logistics are important. Look at everything that is going on carefully. Know what you can do with those things. Know how they are affecting you. Organize them and realize what you can fix and what you cannot. It's okay to say what you cannot fix. It's okay to say what you cannot do. That's a relief in many ways. You can't make it better, and it's okay. So look at the logistics. Then what I need you to do is after the logistics are done, I want you to go ahead and land. Get your feet planted. Get your mind made up. Get your body together. Own your humanity and the capacity of it. Own the thing. Become accountable. Become responsible for who you are in the midst of those logistics. land with your body. I hear you, Justice. You've got to be able to land. If you don't land, you'll get lost in a whirlwind of things that you really can't solve. Get grounded. Feel it in your hands. Feel it in your knees. Feel it in your feet. Land. That's a moment of rest after you've looked at the logistics and realized what you can do and what you can't do. You're just, it's not that there's failure at this point. Lastly, let's I said 3, but I lied to you. Let me give you 2 more. We've got logistics, we've got landing. I need you to take a good look at yourself. Take a good look at yourself. Old song by Smokey Robinson. Take a good look at yourself. All right. Beautiful lyrics there. Just take a good look. I don't mean just looking with your eyes. I mean seeing yourself. All the fear and the anxiety that has in many ways came in to taint your body, to taint your mind, to taint your vision, that's gotten in the way of your mobility, that's gotten in the way of your mobility to have faith in things that you are seeking to do in your future, to have the things that have tainted you financially. Maybe you are stuck and you have been waiting for something to break through. Maybe it is the moment where you are taking a class and this year just feels like you just can't do it anymore. Maybe it is the moment that you have been in a relationship for years and you are literally and it's just tainting your character and you don't like the person you are, and that maybe the person that you're becoming. Maybe you don't like the job and what it has done. It's tainting. Take a good look at yourself. A good look. Not what everybody else has made you out to be. Not everybody else's story, but a good look at yourself. Put on glasses that allow for you to be the sexy good that you have always wanted to be. You looked at your logistics. You see the human condition. You see what's around you. You've already seen that. You've got a good sense of landing. You felt out your body and you know where your feet are. You know where your hands are. And you realize what you're capable of. But now you've got to take a good look at yourself. A good look is a prophetic look. It allows for you to speak to yourself and speak to the things that can be and become for you to be. It is not dictated off of what your mother said. It is not dictated off of what your family said. It is not dictated off of what your manager said. It is not dictated off of what anyone else has said about you. But you tell yourself to take a good look at yourself and give yourself the best narrative you can in the midst of all hell breaking loose. We're going to sit in that for a few minutes. Because the last L that you're going to need after the end of the day, after logistics and landing and taking a good look at yourself. Now, if you can't get to this last L, don't be upset. This ain't a breathing technique. We done breathing in and breathing out. This last step is just for those And if you can't get okay, go back and do it again. If you got to write out the logistics. These are the things that you cannot, that you know you can handle and what you cannot handle. And you know how to lay them out. Then what you do. See, yes, I'm repeating myself because I want us to be very clear of how we're taking care of ourselves. Some of us are not doing this work. And then people are looking at each other and they have the worst attitude ever. Because they're not careful. This is a show of self-care adding to culture care. I need us to do some real self-care work. So this is what this looks like. Logistics, know what you can do and what you can't do. Know your human capacity. Land. Get grounded in who you are. Know your worth in the landing. You didn't fail because you can't do something. Take the moment to give a good look at who you are and what you are becoming. Speak to the value. Invest in the moment of who you are so that you can speak to the value and come alive. And the last thing, if you can, after that, if anything, all else has happened, you've got to love yourself. You've got to love yourself. You've got to love yourself. Love yourself, not because anybody told you to love yourself. Not because I am sitting here on this screen looking at you in your face. Not because you got an amazing relationship. Not because you got an amazing car. Not because of simple fact you have gotten yourself so educated that you feel so good about. I'm telling you to love yourself because you owe it to yourself. You owe it to yourself. It is the greatest investment that you can give to yourself and back to yourself. It is the gift that keeps on giving when everybody else around you has failed you, don't know how to show up for you, don't know how to talk to you, don't know how to be your closest friend, don't know how to be honest with you, don't know how to listen to you. Do yourself a favor and love yourself. Loving yourself will allow for you to listen to yourself. Loving yourself will allow for you to organize the logistics in yourself. Loving yourself will allow for you to get so grounded and feel free from having to pull yourself left and right with everybody else is pulling you left and right. Loving yourself will allow for you to give yourself and speak to yourself in ways that look good, that speak to your character, that speak to your humanity, and allow for you to leave out completely whole. Loving yourself keeps you from breathing in everybody else's mess. It keeps you from having to entertain ideas that don't speak to how beautiful you really are trying to practice. Come on, how beautiful you're really trying. You're trying to practice beauty, not better. You're trying to practice being beautiful. You're trying to practice being great. You're trying to practice being successful. You're trying to practice being a good mom. You're trying to practice being a good employee. You're trying to practice being an amazing student. You're trying to practice being a great artist. You're trying to practice being the best dancer. You're trying to practice being the best musician. You're trying to practice being beautiful in the ways that you know you can be beautiful. You need your L's. You need those L's. Those L's are shaping. Those L's are healing. They're not just deep breaths. We can't breathe with everybody. You'll take on other people's fears. You can't breathe with everybody. You'll begin to take on somebody else's nasty attitude. You can't breathe with everybody. You can't. You just can't. You can't. You can't. You'll sometimes you will take on stuff that is not your own, and you will wonder where it came from. But if you take the time to get the logistics, know what you're going to take on for yourself, know how to land when when it looks like it's a cloudy day and it's turbulence in the air. Some of us just need to land. Turbulence is everywhere, but just land. It's okay. You got some folk that's trying to hold on to the flight and they sick. We need to land. There's somebody else maybe having anxiety. You got to land. You can't do it. You got to look at yourself. Take a good look at yourself. And after it's all said and done, if you can't get to this last one, it's okay. Do it all over again. You just ain't ready to love yourself yet. And that's okay, because it takes time. It takes time. I didn't fall in love with myself until I hit 28. Whoop. I didn't like everything I saw until I actually wanted to walk into being 28 and some stuff really had to be clear for me. A light bulb went off. Some of us have to wait a little bit longer. It ain't 28. It hit you when you were 60. It hit you when you were 50. It hit you when you were 40. Something went off. You finally hit all those L's. And you learn how to, as I say at the end of every show, love yourself in the process. That mask. The only way you can give somebody else's air is if you work on those techniques. I'm not trying to preach over my friend Drew, but he said a word to me. He said that word, and I want to expound. I just needed to expound on that for some of us, because we can't help nobody until we help ourselves. We can't. You can't make nobody get vaccinated until you help yourself. I said that. You actually can't make anybody get vaccinated. Check this out. They won't even be drawn to getting vaccinated if they especially see your nasty attitude. Or that you think that you better than because you vaccinated. I know some folk don't want to hear me on that. You think you better than somebody else because they're not vaccinated. Woo! Where's our attitude today, folk? You think because you voted for somebody different that can we talk? Can we talk for a few minutes? Sometimes our attitude, even if it don't come in shambles, it can come with so much pride that I don't want to be around you. Come on. Let's be honest of how we're walking around here. You know, we got to do better. We got to do better. We got to hold space for folk. But we also got to have a character and demeanor that allows for people to see us loving ourselves, not because of trends, but because we are in many ways trying to beautify ourselves. I see us doing it all the time. We're trying to beautify ourselves, but we also we can't have too much pride. We got to find a balance. I met a woman today. In short, I know I'm going over time. Look at me becoming a Baptist pastor all late. Look, I met a woman today, really short. Her fragrance, when I met her, She had a fragrance, not actual fragrance, but her character had a perfumed with ethical culture. I literally looked at her and thought to myself, "Oh my gosh, you would be like you would be a humanist, like your like the way that you just are, your posture, your poise. I mean, she had to be ethical culture." I ain't never met her a day in my life. I was with my mother. My mother can testify to this one. She was talking to me, my niece, and my mother. She was so deeply engaged in our humanity, so deeply engaged with what was our wherewithal. She was so involved. It was amazing. Check this out. She said to me, "Well, I'm a member." I said, "I work with humanist congregations." She said, "Oh, really?" She said, "Well, I work with the Sunday program for the Baltimore Ethical Society." Now, if anybody know, mom knows this, my mother knows, especially Susquehanna Valley. I'm a firm believer that you better have a good fragrance to draw people in. Her fragrance of her character read as a humanist who really, really, I knew, can I talk like my ancestors would have said? I knew her spirit. I knew her spirit. It resonated with the values that I share in the world. It resonated with my morals. I didn't feel judged. I didn't feel like she was looking at me strange and that I was, she was just genuine. She showed up and she was present. And she showed me herself as someone who knew how to love herself in the process. The perfuming on her life, it was very clear how she loved herself. It was very clear that her spirit was secure in who she was. And she was willing to share in other secure spirits. Come on today. Let's practice those 4 L's. I'm so excited to run into her. I was so excited to run into her. And I'm going to sit that right there because I know we over time. Justice, get us to give ourselves a good look, a sexy good look. Right now. I don't have to say a word. Just love yourself in the process. You'll be good.